Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is now 9 a.m. On the dot. So Stephanie, will you please take attendance?
Of course. Good morning, everyone. Adrian Cochran will not be joining us today. Andrea Comer will not be joining us today. Ella McKitterick.
Present.
John Scott. John Scott.
Here, sorry, I was on mute.
That's okay, thank you. Mike Soltis.
Here.
And Holly Williams.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I would like to welcome and thank the members of the public for joining us this morning. And we're going to move on to our first item, which is a review and approval of our minutes from the November 17th, 2023 meeting. I'd like to ask the committee for a call to approve.
Move to approve those minutes.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain. I wasn't present.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, so the motion passes. We're now going to move into a review of spending to date. So Dave, would you please provide us with an update on the budget spending to date?
Yes, good morning, everybody. Nice to see you on, almost said Friday, Tuesday. So thank you for joining us. Let's share my screen.
All right, we can see your screen, Dave.
Thank you for the confirmation, Stephanie. We are going to go over the results for the month of November at the authority. For the month of November, our October spending was $1.1 million. That is almost $395,000 better than budget. Income less expenses, you'll see, was $523,000 better than budget. That is because of our fund recovery efforts, where we brought in $128,000 of penalties, and that was also the positive variance for the month. So we are doing better than we had budgeted and anticipated back when we had done the budget. In terms of expenses, it was typical expenses for the month. Payroll and related benefit expenses were $604,000. Licenses was $162,000. That included an upgrade to our Cloud Collect license, which we use for fund recovery. Our results have been better than we expected, so we had to go to a higher tier of the Cloud Collect platform. So that will result in a most likely will result in a negative variance for license expense for the year, but that is more than offset by the penalty revenue we're bringing in. So we anticipate that it will more than cover the cost. Other expenses for the month include contact center at $128,000, a grievance adjudication of $65,000. That included some back billing for some systems maintenance work that the Department of Labor had finalized and billed to us, and that we paid. So those were the significant expenses for the month for the authority. Year to date, the spending has been $5.0 million. That's almost, well, just under $1.5 million of a positive variance for expenses so far this year. Moving on to bonds, there was no bond activity in November, so nothing to report there. We are $103,000 higher than what we anticipated to spend for our bond spending, but that was because of the website redesign and replatform work we had done that had spilled over more into this fiscal year than we anticipated when we did the budget. So there was more spending that we thought that happened in the current fiscal year. Also, in the month of November, we had anticipated bond proceeds coming in, but we weren't sure when that was going to happen. And as you might recall, last month, we had put in a request to be put on the bond commission's agenda in December for some additional bond money. That did not come to pass because we were advised by the administration that due to some other demands, the existing bond cap and high interest rates, we were not put on the agenda. That wasn't just exclusive to the authority. By the way, there were a few agencies and others who weren't put on the agenda for those reasons. We are working with the administration to let them know what our bonding needs are and to be put on the next meeting. We're just not sure when that next meeting is going to be. But in the meantime, we're reassessing to see if we can use any operational funds in the meantime instead of bond funds in order not to slow down any of the things we have planned. We also have existing bond funds of over $2.4 million. And so we're also looking to see which of those bond funds we can use for future bond needs as well. Moving on to the contribution budget, relatively slow month for contributions was $345,000. We did have some refunds going out the door this month. That is in part why there is a $1.9 million negative variance. However, that was offset by two things. Number one, the contributions coming in as a result of our fund recovery efforts and the interest on those contributions. And so the total of that was about $469,000 of a positive variance. And we also had investment income this month of over $2.5 million, and that resulted in a $576,000 positive variance that helped offset the negative contribution variance. The benefits paid out were over $29.5 million. Again, that's averaging at about $7.4 million a week. So that is on the highest end that we've seen for a weekly average, resulting in a $2.4 million positive variance. And so for all in for everything for the month, we had almost a $4 million positive variance for net activity of $28 million. Year to date, contribution activity has been $65.8 million, and that has resulted in a $22.8 million positive variance because we've had positive variances across the board for everything: contributions, for benefits, the administrative fees, our fund of recovery activity especially. So all those trends are positive so far. The contribution fund itself has $564.2 million in it as of the end of November. Most of that money is invested in the short-term investment fund at over $551 million, which is the main driver of the over $582 million of total assets that the authority currently has. As far as where we're going to be by the end of the year, not many significant changes since we talked about this last month. Last month, we expected about a $1.9 million positive variance in operational expenses. We still expect that. Some of the line items have shifted a little bit, but the main drivers continue to be payroll and related expenses because the positions haven't been filled yet and will be filled later than budgeted. And the other reason is because of a grievance adjudication expense will be lower than we expected because there aren't as many appeals as we had budgeted for. The income less expense number is a negative $2.3 million, but just as a reminder, that is because we didn't transfer $5 million a few months ago for the first fiscal quarter of this year because we had enough money in our operational reserves to cover expenses. This variance is offset in our contribution budget right here, and is one of the drivers of why we think our contribution activity will be $55.6 million better than budget. That is also about the same number we reported last month. No material changes to our projection variance at the end of the year. We think we'll have almost $68.5 million of activity for the year. About almost $449 million of contribution revenue and about $364 million of benefit payments. We are monitoring both of those along with spring. And so at our next quarterly update with them, we'll update it based on the most recent trends. That's the activity for November. Does anybody have any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Dave. All right, so is there any old business that anybody would like to discuss this morning? No, any new business? No. All right, well, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Is this the fastest meeting ever? Motion to adjourn?
Pretty close.
I think it might be.
If you adjourn now, you've got about 45 seconds, John.
I just made the motion.
Thank you. And a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. It is 9:12 a.m. Have a wonderful new year, everybody, and a happy holiday season.
We'll
You
see
too.
you in
Thank you.
January.
See you next
Bye.
year, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.